All right, ladies and gents, welcome to another episode of the Real Estate Marketing Dude podcast. We are here today. I'm joined with a marketer guy, and we're going to be talking about some lead generation in general, from direct mail. We're going to be talking about online lead generation and even cold calling. I personally hate cold calling, but this guy's got it cracked out, and he's going to share with us exactly what he's doing because you got an interesting business model, but we're going to sort of go through it because I want to give our listeners several other different ways to pick up leads because like we always say, making your phone ring is not that hard. It's really just like, what the hell do you say when people actually call you is where the conversion really takes place, and you've perfected the getting people to respond, inquiries, and all that. So without further ado, please go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience here, Tom, and let us know who you are, where you're from. Let's get into your story, and then let's dive into some of these campaigns that you're running because I know our listeners are going to want to get to those right away.
All right. Well, thank you for having me on, Mike. I am a Boston-based real estate investor. I have been active for the last 10 years, and over the past 5 years, I've done over 100 fix and flips in the Boston market through the marketing methods that I'm going to talk about today.
Nice.
I got into real estate in 2007, and I didn't realize at that point actually how lucky I was because essentially the second that I got into the market crashed.
Yep.
And so I didn't know it at the time, but I was so lucky because literally all I had to do to find deals was go on MLS, go on HUD Home Store, and I wanted a great deal in any city in the Boston market. I clicked a couple buttons, I got the deal, I added value to the deal, and sold it and had really good margins. But then 2013 happened, and I remember it clear as day. I woke up, I went on HUDHomestore.com, which is where I was buying a lot of my HUD foreclosed properties, and there went from about 50 properties for me to bid on to about 5 in the course of about a 3 or 4 month period. And so over the next 6 months, I actually had no clue what to do. And so I actually overbid on quite a few of the properties. I lost money on some of the deals. I made only a few bucks on a couple of the deals. But at the end of the day, I knew that I couldn't buy properties online anymore.
So real quick.
Yeah.
So a lot of times we have real estate agent based on here. You're coming from the investor world, and yeah, in 2007, most realtors were running for the hills, like, holy shit, I can't get any more commissions because no one's buying houses anymore. But I was at the same time. I turned an investor around that time as well, 2008, 2009, and it was the most lucrative time in real estate. And yeah, you're right, tons of deals were out there. But it's funny because the investor market, it was so easy back then to buy properties, flip properties, sell properties because no one was buying them and the property values were just bottomed out. I mean, you had to be a freaking moron not to make money in 2008, 9, 10. But yeah, you're right. In 2013, the market came back. Now, where realtors are on the other side of things, like, oh, the market's busy because they got retail buyers and sellers buying and buying. Now you had to refigure your stuff out. You had to like, oh my God, how am I going to buy houses now? And that's sort of how you stumbled on these things we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So basically, I didn't know what the hell I was going to do. I got to a point where I actually thought I might have to go back to my full-time career, which was as an accountant, because yeah,
sounds horrible.
Literally, I had nightmares about going back to the corporate world, and so I knew I had to figure out a way. And everybody was telling me, every other investor that was super successful at that time was telling me I needed to get off-market deals.
Yep.
But given that from 2007 to 2013, all I did was buy properties on the MLS, I had no idea what the first step was.
Sure.
And so I didn't really have a mentor. And what I ended up doing was literally trying and testing out every single marketing method that you can think of. And
it's the most expensive but beneficial way. Good old trial and error.
Oh, yeah. And, as you know, some of them work much, much better than others. The cost per lead makes a huge difference. And so the stuff that I'm doing today is the stuff that works. And at the end of the day, there's only a few things that work really, really well. And a lot of the people that I talk to, that are just starting out, they're getting into these mentorship programs where they're paying 20, 30 grand and they're being told to put up bandit signs. And it's like, man, if they just put that money into marketing that actually worked, their business would take off. But they're They're running around, putting up bandit signs, calling on investors, trying to find cash buyers, basically doing all the things that don't work. And so, there's only a few things that work really well, and that's what we focused on. And
So
now,
let me and you're going after this as an investor. Okay, so I'm going to guess you're going after people that distressed sales, maybe a divorce, probate. Am I right on that? Like you're sitting sort of maybe NODs, high equity properties, maybe absentee owners, people that need to sell right now. And there's a point I'm making, but does that sound about right?
so I don't actually, some of the stuff you mentioned I do, and some of it I don't do. So notices of default in this market aren't really great.
Yep.
Number one, everybody's hitting them. So the second that somebody is 90 days behind on their mortgage, everyone's calling them, everyone's mailing them. But then in addition to that, right now to try to get a really good deal on a short sale is pretty tough.
Oh yeah, you're paying market value.
Yeah, I mean, banks aren't approving them to where an investor needs to pay. Mm-hmm. So what we actually do when we go into any market is we create a database. And one thing you did mention is high equity. And right now, high equity is key. Yep. High equity, somebody who's lived in the home for over 10 years, people over the age of 50, etc. Those are the type of people that we market to and have the best rate of conversion and the lowest cost per acquisition.
Yep. So let me paint this picture out for the realtors that are listening here, because you're focusing on a niche, all right? We got to break this down why this is a profitable business. So similar to you, we started doing something similar in 2014 as well. We were going after absentee owners, high equity properties.
Yep.
Now, the reason was I was looking at all the gurus. I'm friends with a lot of the gurus, right? I see a lot of these guys who are selling those $30,000 packages. I know these guys. And they're all, I'm like, dude, if a freaking real estate investor can go out and find boatloads and boatloads of deals, why couldn't an agent do the same freaking thing? And what I see the opportunity is like, it's sort of like when you're focusing on a niche of people that want to sell, have to sell, and will sell, and they don't really care about the people who are coming to you aren't necessarily like always looking for highest and best dollar. You're solving a potential problem. They need to unload the property, liquidate the property. Typically, am I wrong on saying that or assuming that?
No, you're right. And the point on real estate agents is I don't understand why more real estate agents don't attack it the same way.
I don't either. That's my whole point. You're exactly right.
I have a 125 person brokerage, and that brokerage was built on the back of the investment business.
Yep.
So at the end of the day, we prospect for motivated sellers, but 80 to 90% of the people that respond to us, that meet with us, a cash offer from an investor is actually not the right fit for them.
Correct.
So if you're a listing agent, I mean, man, there's tons of opportunity, and we spread that opportunity to the agents that are in our brokerage. I never thought I'd be in the brokerage business, but I'm in the brokerage business because I've generated so many leads. But if you flip that around, I don't get why most real estate agents aren't investors, because if you're a real estate agent that's prospecting to a motivated seller, you're going to come across a few deals every single year that are going to be home runs. To me, every agent should be an investor.
You are so right. Keep going.
I was going to say, every agent doesn't have to be an investor like me that does 100 deals a year, but why not do 2 or 3, quick deals? I mean, there's just so much opportunity to do it. And you're prospecting for sellers in the same way you would prospect for a listing.
All right.
So to me, I mean.
So here's where the whole guru thing just drives me nuts. All right. You got all these real estate agent trainers out there and all that. By no means am I trying to say I'm better than them or anything like that and compare myself to them or not. But what I don't understand is why so many agents spend so much time on for sale by owners, expired listings, canceled listings. These are people that don't want to even talk to you guys, all right? They're already pissed off and sour at real estate agents. Whereas if you took your prospecting activities and you've generated, this is our very similar business model in our team here, is that if I'm going to spend time prospecting, I'm going to do it on behalf of an investor and look for these deals, because there's no better. Agents talk all the time about, what's the best script? What's the best script? All right. There's no fucking script. How the hell can you script off a conversation you don't know what you're going to have yet? It drives me nuts. And then here is the script. Tell me, I guarantee we're talking about the exact same thing here. When you get to a property, so let's say you get 10 calls. I'm going to guess maybe 1 in 10 of those calls makes sense for you for doing it as an investor, if that.
Yeah, if that, yeah.
Okay, so 1 in 10 calls, but then there's 9 people that when the realtor shows up to the property, they're just like, hey, you know what? In all honesty, if this is the number you want, you're better off just retailing this on the open market. And then you're being honest. There's no script. You're just telling that you're doing what's best for that person. And by just being honest and telling them, look, my broker will buy your house right now for $85,000. But to be honest with you, I have ethics, okay? I care about people. That's why I run a referral-based business. If you retail this, you could probably be at $125. Now, if you want a quick sale, I'll have this closed for you in 7 days. But if you want to juice everything dollar out of this, you got to retail it. I'll be glad to list it for you at $125. You'll walk away with more. Is that pretty much the script?
That's exactly what we do. So
it's basic, guys. What are you doing? Oh my goodness.
When an agent comes onto my team, I have to train them on the fact that they're a consultant.
Correct.
Do I want to buy every property at 60 or 70 cents on the dollar? Yes, I do. But at the end of the day, that's not the right fit for most sellers. So when my real estate agents go and meet with sellers, we figure out what makes the most sense for them. And about 10% of the time, it does make sense to sell to me, and 90% of the time, it doesn't. And it really just depends on what's the best fit for the seller. We do what's in the best interest of them, and that's how we make money.
Yep. And you're just monetizing it. So you took this whole brokerage. When you started doing this in 2013, you tested the waters, 12 months, give or take, figuring out what works, what doesn't?
We're still testing the waters now, but yeah, it took us a little bit over a year to really get the systems, pretty good. Now, I would say they're really good. I hesitate to say perfect only because I'm always tweaking, to try to make things better.
It's like what worked in Facebook last year doesn't work this year. Things are always going to change.
Yeah. So, I mean, the next shift that I've seen, so the 2013 shift was the fact that I needed to get deals off market. But the shift that I'm seeing in the last couple of years is that investors are now crowding all of the typical marketing channels.
Yeah. So,
a Google pay-per-click lead that I used to pay $125 for now costs me $300. And so from 2016 to 2017, I basically locked myself in a room and said, I need to get my cost per lead down to a max of $125 per seller lead, or else I can't really make money. And I spend a ton of money on marketing. I spent $1.2 million in 2016. So the difference between me getting a cost per lead of $125 a lead versus $300 a lead is literally over $1 million. And so everything that we've done over the past 18 months is to get my cost per lead back down to $125 a lead. And we spoke a little bit online before, we went on this, and part of that has been cold calling. And I know that you mentioned that you don't like cold calling, which I don't like it either, but I don't do it. We hire people to do that, and we have a team of inside sales agents who do that for us on a day-to-day basis.
So the cold calling, so our listeners, the cold calling you're doing is outbound calls that you really have a buyer. It's not a bait and switch. Right. So, and I'm talking about, yeah, it's like, look, I'm looking to buy a house. I don't have any inventory. You're doing honest cold calling. The cold calling that I hate is the expireds. Oh, I have a buyer possibly waiting out there for you in the wings. Oh, yeah, I just sold a house in this neighborhood. You don't have a buyer. Quit lying to people. That's why realtors have a bad name. You can't, people can smell the BS from a mile away. And that's what I can't stand. But I want to get into that. Let's start going through these lead gens. I'm extremely impressed. All right. So you named to me before we started this podcast 3 different lead sources that you would target. Let's start off by targeting with direct mail first.
Yeah.
So walk us through, sort of how the direct mail process would work for you. This is just one channel, one distribution channel you're looking at targeting.
Yeah, so the first thing that I do is I create a database of houses that I want to buy. So that's the most important thing to start. And I think where a lot of people make a mistake is they buy a list and they say, oh, let me buy a notice of default list, or let me buy an absentee owner list that everyone is basically using. What I do is I start from scratch. I say, okay, what are the cities that I want to buy houses in? How old are they? What are the assessed value? And I build what I call a property avatar. So I know the types of properties that are most likely to sell to me and have my highest cost per deal, biggest profit per deal, I should say. And so I start with the property. So I know the cities, I know the styles of houses, I know the square footage, I know the bedrooms, I know the bathrooms. Okay, so I start there. The second layer I add to that is the actual person avatar. So what does the typical motivated seller look like? And for me, the typical motivated seller almost always has lived in the property for the last 10 years. So somebody that bought their house 6 months ago, they're not going to sell to an investor. So they're off my list. I'm taking off people who are under the age of 50 because, again, they're just not likely to need to sell to a cash buyer. I'm also taking out real estate agents. I'm taking out mortgage brokers. So I actually go in and I really filter the data heavily. And so that's, to me, the most important thing. One thing that I didn't mention that I should have mentioned is that we're also filtering based on mortgage balance. Because if somebody has a property that's worth, say, $200,000 and their mortgage balance is $190 and my cash offer would be $150, well, they have equity. They can sell it traditionally. They're not gonna sell at a loss.
Yep.
But I can never buy that house. So I'm filtering out also by mortgage data. So I'm picking the houses I want. I'm picking the people that are most likely to sell to me, and then I'm mailing them.
What's a good equity cushion? 50% plus?
It depends on the city. So there are some areas of Boston that are red hot that we do condo conversions in. They're multifamily properties, and I can almost pay fair market value in that case. So I can go to an 80 LTV in that market. And then there are some really slow selling markets, more rural areas, where if I don't get a 50 LTV, then for me, it's not even worth doing the deal.
Sure.
So for me, I segment, what cities I want to buy in and what discount I need in the particular city.
Okay. I love it. All right. So you get the database, people under 50 years old, you target equity on you then beat up that list on equity, and that's based upon the areas because you know your market so well.
Yeah.
And then now you have your list. Now, what size number are we talking about? So compared from when you buy the initial list to after you retarget it down, how many people or recipients for a direct mail campaign would you say is too less, or how many is too many? Or not too many, but how many is a good number? Because I'm sure you have stats like your percentages are going to hit off 100, you're getting 4%, 3%, whatever that is.
So I don't look at it off of the responses, because if I want responses, I can hit an NOD list and I can get tons of responses. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm actually going to want to buy that property.
Sure.
What I look at is cost per deal, so cost per acquisition. And I can get a cost per acquisition on average of between $5,000 and $8,000. And $5,000 and $8,000 is really, really good for me because of the fact that in Boston, the margins are pretty high when you get a really good deal. And then, so if I'm meeting with 10 sellers one-on-one, one of them is typically selling to me, and then the other 9, they're still motivated to sell, but just not to an investor. And so that's where, the brokerage arm comes in and does the right thing and, doesn't tell them to sell their property at a discount, but, helps them maximize the value of their property.
Yep. And you said that was $5,000 to $8,000. That's what you'll spend per mailing?
No, per acquisition.
So
if I want to buy, if I want to buy 10 houses, it's going to cost me between $50,000 and $80,000.
Got it. Okay, so that's the investor side, acquisition wise. Got it.
Yep, exactly. And we're able to get back on the brokerage side. So if I'm spending, say, $5,000 to $8,000, I'm getting back about double that just in commissions.
Got it.
So pretend I wasn't an investor and I was just a realtor. I could make money just on that. Yeah. But now, say that you're a realtor and you add in the investment component of it and you do a deal just here and there. I mean, your numbers are going to go through the roof in terms of your profitability.
Right. I could see let's face it, real estate brokerage. I mean, if you didn't have this lead source where you're controlling the leads just because you know how to do it, let's face it, there's not a lot of money in real estate brokerage.
For me,
now you might, because you're probably giving those leads out for 50-50 or something like that.
You're absolutely. I wouldn't be in the brokerage business if I didn't have the investment arm. I mean, it's tough to be a brokerage owner nowadays. I mean, there's so many competing people that are just, the splits keep going down and down and down. And it's that's a tough business. And, to keep agents happy, to me, you need to feed them leads. And without the investment component, I wouldn't be able to feed them leads.
Right. No, that's great. How many pieces? What's the frequency on mailers? It's not just a one-off. What's the? What are you sending them? A letter? You sending them a postcard?
We send letters, but it doesn't matter whether it's a letter or a postcard. It's more about the
Agreed.
frequency.
Yep.
So we hit them every other week, 5 times. So over the course of 10 weeks.
Got it.
And usually by the fifth letter, they're either meeting with us to get us off their back, or they're telling us, to stop mailing them, which we then just remove them from the list because there's no purpose of, having someone upset about it.
There's know what's funny about this, and I'm talking not to you, but to people listening to our podcast here, is that these sellers will save these mailers. All right.
Yeah.
So like, what's weird is that so it never fails. So someone will get your mailing piece, and just because you don't get a call in that first week doesn't mean they didn't puck that thing away. Because what happens is that you're reaching. Tell me if you agree or disagree with this, but you're reaching people that are considering selling. Right? They're not entertain it, but they're just like, you know what? I'm taking my kids to the school, or I'm doing this, or I got to do that. And what they do is they save this in like their kitchen drawer. And it's weird that you'll get a call 6 months later from a campaign you ran. And they'll be like, oh, yeah, you know what? You sent me this letter a while ago, and I meant to call you, but I just didn't get around to it. So how often does that happen?
All the time. We get them 2, 3, 4 years, 4 years.
That's crazy.
And we get callings too, that they'll tell us that. They'll say, I'm not ready for the next 6 months. And so we have them in our CRM and just set them for a follow-up call, on a quarterly basis or every other month basis, and then keep in touch with them. So as either as an agent or as an investor, you're building a database too. So, you're basically taking a totally cold seller and, moving them into the warm bucket. Maybe they sell, maybe they don't, but they're not cold anymore.
Yep. And I bet you the content of your mailer is just like really basic. Like, hey,
yeah.
It's like this is the next thing. Realtors like, oh my God, what should I put? Should I put my logo? Oh my God, I look fat. I look this. Oh my God, blah, 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 blah. Dude, get right to the point.
Probably one of my biggest pet peeves is when people want to see my mailers.
Yeah.
And I'm like, don't worry about what it says. Just like when you're cold calling, it's a frequency thing.
Yeah.
It's how many mailers are you sending? How many times are you calling? Whatever you say, whatever it's in the letter, you don't want it to sound bad, but man, it almost doesn't matter. As long as it's basic and gets to the point, that's all you need. Don't worry about dressing it up. Like I see people switch mailers and try to do all these crazy little things. Like that's not the business. The frequency, like any other marketing, you need to just stay in front of people constantly.
Yeah. It's short, sweet, to the point. You got 2 seconds, so cut right to it. No one cares about you. What are you mailing for? What the hell what's your point? Get to it, and get to it fast.
Yep, exactly.
All right, so out of your direct mail, I forget, I didn't write this down, but did you, what's a good number to have? Let's say someone was going to start this out for a first time. I'm like, say this is my first time doing this. I'm following your system right off the bat. I'm like, all right, I'm going to listen to everything Tom's telling me to do. I'm going to go ahead and do this. Boom, 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 boom. I narrow down, and let's just say I got a list of 5,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say I dwindle it. Is that a good amount right there? Or is it 100 people, 500 people?
Yeah, you basically got to get to that $5,000 to $8,000 range, and for a mailer, you're talking about $1 a mailer. Yeah. We get it lower only because we have a mail operation in our office, but typically speaking, you're going to get it for $1, 80 cents, 85 cents. So yeah, you're going to want to send 5, 6, 7, 8,000 letters, and the mistake a lot of people make is they send out one mailer campaign with 300 letters and they don't do any business, and they say, oh, mailers don't work.
Right.
And yeah, it's just not enough frequency to get the results that you need.
Mailers, it's not about it's not the mailer that works. It's either the targeting or the offer. On it. Very, very cool. All right, so you're running a direct mail funnel. Cool. Let's go on to step 2. Let's go to online and then cold calling. I'm going to beat you up a little bit on cold calling maybe, but I think I will. I think what you're doing is probably almost like your circle prospecting your direct mail efforts is my guess. But let's talk about your online stuff now. So switch gears. Now online, how are you getting the phone to ring?
Yeah, so it's all the standard. Facebook, Google, Bing, Yahoo, MSN. But you really have to tweak it so that you're getting your cost per lead down as low as possible. So I tried to do this on my own, and I failed miserably. I'm pretty technical. Like I said, I'm CPA background, accountant. I'm a nerdy person. I felt like I could figure this out on my own. But, man, it's just really tough. Google, it changes every single day. Facebook changes their algorithms, and it's just really hard. So I went through 3 online marketers before I finally got the one that really, really worked really well. And like I said, I needed to get my cost per lead down to somewhere between $100 and $150 per lead. And so it's just a matter to me of hiring the right person for SEO, for PPC, for Facebook ads, all of that stuff. If you have the right person, you can get your cost per lead down to where it needs to be. If you don't, like my cost per lead doing it on my own was about $650 a lead, because I didn't know what keywords to target. I didn't know how frequently to put the ads up, how much to bid per click. It's complicated, and there's a lot to it. So I wish I could give you like a better answer as to exactly how to do it, but the answer to me is finding the right person, because it's just such a technical thing. Like mailers, I basically what I just told you is the blueprint. It's not any more complicated than that. But with all the online stuff, you just need to get somebody who's good. And the person that I have is good, and they work for me internally, so they're full time, with me. So it's just been a blessing to finally. I went through a few people, so to get the right person.
Now, where's the landing page you're sending them? What's the offer on the pay-per-clicks? Obviously, you're ranking for certain keywords, and then they're going somewhere. What are they clicking on?
Yeah, I just have an Investor Carrot website. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but they create really simple and basic high converting landing pages for real estate investors. And if you were to go on the page, it's just really simple. Sell your house fast for cash, close in 7 to 10 days. Really simple. But the key with them is the conversion. So they've split tested a bunch of different websites, and they've come to what gets you the highest conversion ratio. And before I used Investor Carrot, I had a landing page that looked, I thought, pretty similar to what they had. And I had heard over and over and over again that their stuff is much, much better. And ever since I started using their site, my conversion rate has almost doubled. And it's just some really basic things, like they have an arrow pointing next to the contact form, and it's nothing fancy. It's just, they've split tested a lot of different sales pages, and this is the one that converts the highest. And I think I pay maybe $99 a month, something like that. I think there's a $50 a month version, but if you're going to be driving traffic to a URL, you need to make sure that your landing page converts. And I made that mistake early on in having a page that didn't quite convert very well, even though it looked really pretty and I thought it was nice.
Yep. And especially most realtors are going to be high D personalities, so they don't have the patience to test this stuff out. Like I'd rather, for $99, I don't want to test it. Just tell me what works. Let me just pay for it and let me do what I do, right?
I'm like almost all D my personality, and like you said, I'm spending tons and tons of money on online marketing, and I spent almost no time trying to figure out if my page actually converted, because I was already on to the next thing. Yeah. I was already on to a different part of my business. So yeah, even if you could figure it out on your own, like the SEO, pay-per-click, landing page, all of that stuff, to me is just something that you don't want to do. It's going to bog you down, and you're not going to do it as good as the people who do it for a living.
Good tip. All right, let's go right into the cold calling.
Yeah, cold calling's been a big.
I have one more question. I'm sorry. Before we get into that, the online lead. I know you mentioned you like Follow Up Boss.
Yep.
The online lead, someone opts in. Is it an immediate phone call back? Are you doing the text? Like, tell me. I want to get your opinion and see what's working. You guys are driving a lot of opt-ins, a lot of traffic. What are you seeing convert? Is it the email autoresponder? Is it the personalization with a text message you're using with Follow Up Boss? Is it a personal phone call? What is the magic right there?
I don't know that there is a magic, only because I think everyone prefers to be contacted in a different way. So, me personally, like, you'll never get me on the phone because I hate being on the phone. So text works for me. Text and email works for me. But, you'll get people who will say to you, I can't believe you didn't call me. You texted me. That's not professional. So to me, I think you need to hit them in all three ways. Mm-hmm. And typically speaking, you're going to get one of those ways is going to be their preferred method of contact. So the way that it works in my office is a lead comes in. When a lead comes in, it automatically goes into Follow-Up Boss. The second that the lead comes in, an auto responding email goes out. 5-10% of the time they respond back and they book that way. Also, when it comes in, we have a live 24/7 text messaging service that we subscribe to, and they actually engage them via text message within 5 minutes of the lead coming in. So we get some conversions that way. And then I have an inside sales agent that's also responsible for making a call and getting us out on the appointments.
Got it. Love it.
So we hit them all three ways. And
now, if there's no contact or no engagement within the first 3 days of an opt-in, what happens to that lead?
So we do what we call the 10 days of pain. So for the first 10 days, we're calling, emailing, and texting them for 10 days straight. After that point, they go into a follow-up queue, and they get hit on a dialer. So they get hit on a dialer on a regular basis. So they're no longer getting my inside sales agent. They're no longer getting my inside sales agent, but they're getting other people contacting them on a periodic basis. And when you load something into the dialer, you're just blasting through a bunch of phone numbers all at once.
Yep. Got it.
So it's not personalized, but we're doing it because they haven't responded. And a lot of those people come back around, but you don't know when. Someone can fill out a form and then a year later, be ready to sell.
Yep. And it's only because you've hit them so many times that they thought of you.
Yep.
Now, do you have a percentage on that? Like, what's the people who don't make it past that initial opt-in that there's a quick engagement? What's the, say there's 1,000 freaking deadbeats out there just because you're staying in touch. Not deadbeats, but dead leads, all right?
Yeah.
What's the follow-up ratios on that? What's a good number to hit?
I don't have any data on that, and it would be nice to have, but I do know that if you have the follow-up done in the right way, so my email autoresponders just go on indefinitely. So until somebody unsubscribes, they're on the list. And then once they get into the dialer, we're hitting them at least once every 30 days. So I don't know what percentage of the people that make it past the 10 days ever do anything, but I do know that we get results. Yeah. So the mechanisms that we're using definitely work. But yeah, I would definitely say some of our best deals have come out of leads that were just, they weren't ready right then and there, and then they ended up being ready at a later point in time. You know what else has happened over the past 2 years that's been kind of interesting is that a lead that filled out a form in 2015 now can get a price from me that's much higher. So there have been times that a lead came in 2015, True. And my offer might have been $200,000, but now I can pay $250,000. So when we re-engage that person, all they wanted was the $250,000. I couldn't pay it in 2015, but now I can pay it in 2017. So that's another important thing to keep in mind, both on the listing and the investment side, that as the market's going up, sometimes the sellers that were on the fence just because they couldn't get what they wanted can now get what they want.
It's an excuse for good news.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Like, oh, hey, remember I gave you $200,000, but now I want to give you $250,000. Wait, what?
Yeah, and then they say, oh, now I want $300,000.
Yeah, right. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into the cold calling.
Yep.
So what are we doing with cold calling?
So we're using the same exact list that we're mailing. Okay. We're getting cell phone records. We're putting them into a dialer, and we're just banging through as many calls as we can. So our inside sales agents will hit between 500 and 700 calls in a day, and typically per day they're booking about 2 appointments.
Nice. Now, and you're just calling the people on the direct mail list.
Yeah, those are the people. See, for me, I have a database of every person whose house I want to buy in the greater Boston area. So for me, those are the people who I hit. There wouldn't be anyone outside of that list. So for me, the phone is the same as the mailing. And a lot of people don't respond to mail. Maybe they think it's a scam for whatever reason. But when they get somebody on the phone and they talk to them and they're a live person and they seem real, that can change their perception. Or maybe they just didn't pick up the phone yet. They're going to be ready, and then they answer the phone, and you can kind of speed up their progress.
I like this type of cold calling.
Yep.
All right. I don't think this is cold calling, really. This is like, hey, I really want to buy your shit. Do you want to talk or not? You're calling with the reason. The thing that I can't stand, I think, is really sleazy is when you lie about it. right?
Yep.
When the agents are just saying, "Oh, I have a buyer." You don't have a buyer, man. Come on, why are you doing that? That's just not. I think it's super unethical. I think it's shady. But yeah, if you have a real buyer, so I want all the listeners to get something out of this call, and it's like it's very simple. Your best client is an investor, period. Because the investor is what gives you the legitimate excuse to go out and prospect people whose houses they really want to buy. It's that simple.
And you should, as an agent, be making double the commission on every investment deal, because you should be making something on the front end, and then you should
buy. Exactly.
And then the
right.
listing.
That's all we like doing is I want to go after. I want to get the rehab or the development. I want to get the acquisition on the front end, get my 2.5%, 3%, and then on the back end, I want to sell it out. And I'm sure as an investor, you're really happy to do that for agents. I mean,
100%. I mean, so, the 125 person brokerage that I have, I mean, we're training people to do that all day long. And it's a win-win for both. It's a three-way win. I mean, it's a win for the agent, it's a win for the investor, and it's a win for the seller who wants to sell to an investor.
Right.
So it works for all three parties.
These are really cool. All right, let's go on through this process now. Very detailed. I appreciate your details on this. I think our listeners will love this. So, all right, so now I want to go, lead comes in.
Yep.
Now, what's next? Hey, I want to sell my house. I'm thinking about selling my house. What do you want to give me?
Yep. We can't tell them anything over the phone, especially, I mean, where I'm at in Boston. From one house, most of the houses we buy are older than 100 years old.
Sure.
So on the same street, two neighbors can have a house that's in perfect condition to a house that needs $200,000 worth of work. And that's what I say to everyone who says to me, "Oh,
that is the script, guys. Pay attention. Take notes. That's the script. This isn't like Zillow. You go on Zillow and you get a Zestimate. Zillow doesn't know what the inside houses look like. They're just going off of data and averaging them."
And so I've made mistakes both ways. I've told somebody over the phone I can buy their house, and then I get out there and I'm like, "Oh man, I'm sorry, but I can't do it." And I've gone the opposite way. I've said, "Oh yeah, I can pay $300,000 for your house," and then I don't even get the appointment. And then I see my competitor pay $320,000, and I could have paid $320,000 because I didn't see the inside.
Yeah.
So from one house to another, there's just too many variables. So we really, I can give you a fake answer over the phone, but to give you an honest offer, I need to see it. All I need is 10 or 15 minutes of your time. I'm not going to waste your time with a sales pitch. I'll let you know what we can pay. And, that's as simple as that. What's the best day and time for us to come out and take a look at your house?
And if the seller doesn't want to do that, they sort of disqualify themselves right off the bat. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, you do have some people that are just leery of getting an investment offer. And they're afraid that, somehow you're going to force them to sell their house, or they're just nervous. And so some of them need a little bit more hand holding. I think it depends on the person. Sure. Some sellers will tell us, "Oh, I thought, you're a developer. I thought you were going to buy the whole street and pay me double what my property is worth." Okay, yeah, that's probably a disqualification. But if the person is just kind of like, "Well, I don't know if I should let you come," then that's somebody who will nurture a little bit more. Mm-hmm. We'll send testimonials, or we'll keep following up with them to, try to see what we can do.
Interesting. Now, who are you sending? Who's doing the appointment? Now, your agents, I'm assuming now?
Yep. So I don't do any appointments anymore. All of my agents take appointments. They take leads. And so, another thing, because you have an agent kind of, end on this. The other great thing about working with investors is getting the buyer leads from it.
Yep.
So if you find them the deal, you get paid up, you should actually be making triple, because you're going to get the initial upfront, then you're going to get the back end. But the day that the developer buys that property, you should be putting a sign in the ground and start marketing that property online. And so typically speaking, in my office, for every single, development deal that we do, we get a buyer out of it, in some way, shape, or form. So you should be if you're working with a developer, you should ask them for permission to start marketing the property the second that they start doing the renovation. And if you have a for sale sign out there for 3-4 months in a market like this, where the market is so hot and buyers are desperate for inventory, you should be getting a ton of buyer leads from that.
Just the fact that it's not on the MLS. I mean, the ads, the copy on those types of ads are real simple. It's like, hey, look, this isn't on the market. That alone gets people to look at it. Or this is coming soon. That's why Zillow has this whole coming soon thing, guys. It's not like Zillow. If Zillow's done the research to build out a coming soon app in their platform, there's a reason that they did that, and it's because that they understand that's what their audience wants. People want to know what's coming up soon, and that's why people are clicking on those things. You guys, this is transactional marketing. This is we teach and preach, and I love hearing it from another person right now, but it's what we tell our agents all the time. It's what we tell our members of Attractor. It's very simple. It's like the goal of every listing isn't to sell the listing. It is ultimately, but that's not the primary goal. The goal of every listing is to leverage it for spin-off business and then also please the seller so that the seller turns into a lifelong repeat client and a referral source for you. It's very simple. But the content of being able to market that listing, you're right, is another excuse for you to brand your name, put it out there, try to create some more leverage with additional transactions, because without listings, what are you marketing?
Exactly. And it's just a really good way to get buyers in the door.
Very, very cool. This has been an awesome podcast. I like it. I'm very impressed. I'd like to, anything else you want to add? And then I want you to share with us exactly what you're doing. I brought Tom on this podcast because I thought his system was really cool. I wanted to share it with our users. I'm all about creating value for our listeners and sharing with them different ways to pick up business. And I like your approach because it's honest. It's not bait and switch. And I have a lot of friends that have a lot of investor friends, and they're doing very similar operations. They've leveraged brokerages off of this. Off of their investment deals because, you might as well monetize it. Why not?
Absolutely. So really what we've done, I mean, I'm 34 years old. Over the past few years, we've kind of been flat in Boston because, like I said, we have this database. We know who we're marketing to. We're hitting them over the head over and over and over again. And so at the end of 2016, we decided that we were going to start partnering with people in other geographic markets that want the lead generation systems that we have. And we utilize those lead generation systems in other markets to get investors to do more deals. So when we partner with somebody in another market, we take over the lead generation systems. We get them leads. We get them in the door with sellers that are motivated. And we actually coach them on how to do investment deals as well. So we already talked about this a little bit. The perfect candidate for this is actually an agent, because an agent knows how to negotiate a deal. They know how to build rapport with the seller, which is one of the most critical things on the appointments. So we're looking for people across the country. We're in 22 counties as of today, and we're looking for additional people who want to utilize this lead generation model that we take care of everything. So whoever works with us, I mean, it's great to know PPC. It's great to know how to cold call. It's great to know how to mail, but we take over that 100% for the people that we work. You just have
a complete done-for-you version, done-for-you model.
Done-for-you version. So all we need are people in other areas, other geographic areas, to literally go and meet with people. We need the boots on the ground, because that's the one thing. If I could do this remotely without people, I would be doing it on my own. But we can't buy properties unless we're face-to-face with people. So we need people that are skilled salespeople in other geographic markets that can actually meet with sellers, get these properties under contract, or again, if it doesn't make sense for them to sell to an investor, list the property if they can.
Got it. And you want the agent to already have the investor located, no rookies. Let's get some real pros in there, people that know what they're doing. This isn't for the first time. This isn't for a rookie agent. This is for a seasoned agent that understands their stuff. What do you think?
We have trained newer agents, and I train newer agents in my office every single day. It's just that a seasoned agent's going to pick it up a lot faster.
Yep.
So ideally for me, the person would have more experience, but if someone's willing to follow my systems, and the biggest component of it, honestly, is being able to work hard. So if you're a seasoned agent and you're not willing to put in the hours, it doesn't work, because if you're not following up with the leads, if you're not doing what you need to do on the appointments, you won't get deals. So the biggest thing is the systems. But yes, somebody who follows the systems and is experienced is going to be able to do deals like right out of the gate. And one of the first people I started working with in South Carolina, I mean, her second appointment, she's putting a deal under contract. So it does help to have that experience.
Yeah, I agree. But it's like, it's no different than Zillow. zip codes. Most conversions all about confidence, I believe, and competence, and just being able to portray yourself in that way, because you got those, that first 15, 20, 30 seconds you meet that individual, they already sized you up.
Yes.
Yep. They know if they like you or not, and it's about how you shake their hand, how your body language is, the tone that you perceive or that you portray. So yeah, you're right. I might swallow my tongue on that. You're right. I have I'll share a quick story, and then we'll get this thing rolling. And then we'll end this call, or this podcast. I had when I had my brokerage, I used to own a exit brokerage in the suburbs of Chicago. And I remember this one guy. This is actually a company that's very similar to your guys. They started out as rehabbers. And I remember this one kid came into the office, and I'm like, "There's no fucking way this guy's gonna make it. Like, there's no way this kid wears sweatpants and he just shows up." And man, was I wrong. He was a great talker. He was funny. He was very charismatic. And to this day, he's killing it. And I first didn't think he had it in him to be a realtor. But he was really good at construction. He understands construction costs. He speaks that investor language. But more importantly, he's so good with people. And this is a people person business. So it was surprising, because in the first 12 months, he did really good numbers that he was in business. So it's a personality thing, and yeah, you're right. So, all right, Tom, go ahead and let us know what your website is. Let us know how people can get a hold of you, and let's go from there.
Yeah, the easiest way is just to go directly to my website, which is www.learnhowtogetdiscountedproperties.com. Again, that's www.learnhowtogetdiscountedproperties.com. And that'll take you to a quick informational video, which, if you're interested in working with us, we'll actually queue you up to get on my calendar. So you literally click a button to talk to me one-on-one, and then from there we'll determine if it makes sense to work together.
Yeah, interview process sounds like.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're looking for the right people, for sure.
Understand that. All right. Well, this has been an unbelievable podcast. I appreciate the value that you have given our listeners. You guys, pay attention. Take notes. Write them down. Take a picture. We are done with this show. Next week, we will be back for another episode. We appreciate you guys tuning in again. And always, we love you. If you know where to find me, if you want real estate marketing crash course on a lot of different topics, visit my site, realestatemarketingdude.com. And if you like attracting business, join my membership community. It's called Attractor. And we are opening up again this quarter on May 24th. So thank you very much again. We appreciate everything, and we will be in touch. And I'll talk to you later, buddy.
Thank you.